The Morgan silver dollar is largely considered to be one of the favorite and the most well-known coins ever produced by the US. It truly carries a very rich and distinguished background, making some of these coins extremely valuable. But what most people don't know is the Morgan silver dollar has a very rich history. Today we are going to look at what makes the Morgan silver dollar so special, captivating, and by the end of this video you will know everything you need to know about the Morgan silver dollar. Now, the Morgan silver dollar was made first started in 1878 and made all the way up until 1904. They then stopped in 1904 and came back for one additional year in 1921. The Morgan has a very beautiful look with Lady Liberty on the front, and then it has a very statuesque, beautiful eagle spreading its wings on the back. And this coin was designed by George T. Morgan, and it was probably considered that he was a really high up person in the government, but that's actually not true. He didn't have a very high position. He had the opportunity to design the coin. He did, and really was fortunate enough to have his name associated with this beautiful coin. Now, these coins are 90% silver, and they contain 0.7734 troy ounces of silver, which is really important to know, especially in today's world with the crazy prices of silver that we've seen. At the time of filming this, silver is right around $80 an ounce. So, as silver fluctuates, these coins are worth $60 to $70 in silver value alone. But we'll get into a lot of things that make these coins rare from a numismatic standpoint and from a collector standpoint as well. But they definitely do carry a significant amount of silver in them, which is another reason why a lot of collectors really like them. They have a very strong Western type style feel to them. And there was largely believed to be about 650 Morgan silver dollars produced throughout those years. However, a lot of the Morgans actually didn't make it this far. In 1918, one of our allies in World War I needed additional silver. So we ended up allowing a lot of these Morgans to be destroyed, and it's largely considered that about 270 million of the Morgans were destroyed during that 1918, the Pittman Act. Is actually what destroyed a lot of these. So a lot of these Morgans have been left behind. Carson Cities were very heavily impacted at that time, which we'll talk about the Carson Cities a little bit more, as well as they carry a very rich and distinguishable background that makes them pretty rare in some cases. But one of the reasons why these coins exist is because of politics and silver lobbying at the time, which was a large reason that pushed these coins into fruition to get a beautiful dollar coin out there in circulation. Now, the crazy thing is, and it's kind of unfortunate, as silver's gone as crazy as it is, there's been a large increase in fakes. So just things to be a lookout for and things to know about the Morgan that are really important. Keys to really help yourself distinguishing if a Morgan is real, just some of the basics. But they should be 38.1 millimeters in diameter. Now, they should weigh about 26.73 grams, although I will say, depending on the circulation, they're going to weigh different amounts. While this coin is not, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, this coin is in a much better condition compared to this circulated Carson City right here that actually has scratches across it. So you're going to expect this Morgan to weigh a little bit more than that Morgan. However, a Morgan should not be weighing way under 26.73 grams and definitely should not be weighing much over that weight, as that is definitely going to draw red flags. Now, some of the things that makes these coins really special is the mints that they were associated at. There's 5 different mints. And so the mint in tandem with the year and the condition are really what determine a lot of these values. So if you look underneath, and this one does not have one, but if you look right above the D and the O on the Morgan, you will see the mint. So we'll actually look at this. So this is a Carson City right here, and it's denoted as a Carson City by the CC right there above the D and the O on the back of the coin. Now, the coins were made at the Philadelphia Mint, which is distinguished by no mint mark. So this right here was a Philadelphia minted coin, as it has no mint mark right above the D and the O. And then there was Carson Cities, these right here. And then there was New Orleans, which is marked as an O. There's an S for San Francisco. And then there's a D for Denver. And the interesting thing about the D is that Denver only minted the 1921 Morgan, which is just kind of an interesting, fun tidbit. So if you want a Morgan with a D on the back, you must get a 1921, as those are the only ones that have it. Now, just a quick rule of thumb. If you have a Carson City, so distinguished by a CC, that is more than likely going to be a somewhat special coin. Now, I bought these coins probably 20 years ago, so those prices are probably not I mean, they might be somewhat accurate, but they're probably not super accurate in today's standards based off what we've seen since then. But in general, Carson Cities are a little bit more special. We'll talk about that more in just a sec. So really, the date, the mint, you can go back and figure out how scarce they are, how many were produced. And the Carson Cities were impacted at a very disproportionate rate under the Pittman Act, as a lot of those were in treasury vaults and actually destroyed at the time. So there's definitely a lot less Carson Cities out there that you can get their hands on, which has definitely driven up the price. And that in tandem, there are some extremely rare dates as well. Some of those extremely rare dates, such as the 1893S, which unfortunately I don't have here, but that is largely considered to be the holy grail of Morgans and one of the most iconic coins in the history of the industry. A couple other big ones are the 1889 Carson City, so again going to be distinguished by that CC on the back, and then the 1985. Now, those are just some of the biggest Morgans. However, there are a lot that were seriously produced, and really the condition that you have the Morgan really isn't going to even impact it because it's not going to carry a ton of premiums. But the 1921, 1881S, and 1880S, those are the most common ones that you probably have if you just have some laying around. Let's see if I have any of those right here at the time. I don't think I grabbed any of those. But yeah, I don't have any here for demonstration. But those are definitely ones that they were largely produced and very common to be still out and about. And so we talked about condition. Condition is extremely important. It can make a coin, go from a $100 coin to a thousands of dollar coin, just depending on the condition. So this is something you really want to take good note of. And we won't go into great detail of that in this video, but one of the best things to look at is, obviously the strike of the coin is going to be partially impacted. How it's, just how the coin looks overall, but the hair within the coin is a really good one to look at. Seeing the hairlines, is that something that quickly fades? And then the breast feathers on the back of the eagle, the wings on the back, those are really distinguishable features of the Morgan, or that are you can really look at to see condition. So when you take that in contrast with this one, where you really can't see the hair and you can't see the distinction really of the feathers in the back, that's a very poor grade. And so the coins go from a 1 to a 70, 70 being an MS 70. Anything over that 50, 55 range is considered uncirculated. So when you start to hear that term uncirculated thrown out, that's referring to the condition of the coin, and that typically comes in once you start getting to the 50, 55 and above. That's when you get that uncirculated. Below is when you have the circulated coins. Another thing, if anyone ever says they have a good Morgan, that is actually not good condition. Good is one of the worst conditions that you can have in Morgans. But as you can see, some of these coins still have really good luster left in them. Definitely not some of these Carson Cities, which is probably why I own them. I probably would have had to pay a fortune for them at the time if they were in really good condition. So what I will say about Morgans, and this is becoming extremely relevant in today's world with the price of silver as it is, but it's really important to know if you see yourself more as a stacker or so investor within the silver, or if you're more of a collector and numismatist, as you would definitely go after different things. So if you're a stacker, you probably don't want to be going after your Carson Cities. You're probably more looking for your 1921s, your 1881Ss. You're looking for the ones that don't have a lot of numismatic and rarity to them, ones that are probably in lesser condition. And right now with the high prices, we are seeing a lot of those coins being melted at disproportional rates. But that's kind of what you would probably want to go for. They still are really cool coins that carry a lot of history with them, but you're not going to be paying quite the premiums as opposed to when you start to get into your Carson Cities and when you start to get into your upper condition coins. That's when you're going to start to generate a little bit more of the premiums and the additional costs within that. But these coins definitely make really good for investors or stackers, just really because of the large history and the amount of silver in them. They're very, very special coins to numisists out there as well, though. And now there are some very big key mistakes that it is very important to avoid. And that is one of them, and this is one that's easy to fall into, is a cleaned coin. I know it might seem harmless, but a cleaned coin is typically not your friend. It can really kill the collectability within a coin, and while the condition might look better, it pretty much ruins a lot of the condition. So you really want to avoid coins that have been cleaned or artificial in general. The rough as is surface a lot of time is your friend. Also, ignoring mint marks. So, it might be easy just to look at the year and the mint mark is something small in the back. That mint mark makes a huge, huge difference. And, you definitely don't want to buy just because they're hot at the time. You want to buy Morgans because you love them or you want them for one reason or another. Yes, they are very good coins that carry a lot of history, but if you're looking to get into them for the silver value or the investment portion of it, you want to, have a reason for why you're wanting to do that. And it's good to understand what your goals are as you get into it. And then also grades. Grades, as we mentioned, those are some of the things that are really going to get you in trouble if you don't pay attention to that. But cleaning a Morgan, yeah, definitely will destroy the value by 50% instantly. It's just a good rule of thumb. So now when you look at them as well on if you should buy a Morgan, I mean, the silver exposure is good. If you're wanting to get into silver, there's a lot of really good ways to do that with the Morgan silver dollar. They do have an extremely rich history, as they're a big part of the newest world of the coin industry here in the United States. They're not the easiest coins in the world to flip if you're looking to buy them and sell them quickly. Something like an American Eagle is probably going to be a little bit quicker for flippability or long-term things like that, or even if you want to get just bullion bars. Those are probably going to be a little easier to flip as far as Morgans, especially, you'd definitely be at risk of paying a little bit more premiums here on your Morgans. And, there definitely is some long-term collectability, which could make them another really good reason to buy. But, the mint, where it was minted at. So, if that's Carson City or what it is in the condition are definitely very, very important when it comes to looking at that for a long-term collectible. And then, so the Morgan dollar isn't just a silver coin. It's a part of history. It is heavily involved in the country's politics. It can be very speculative. And, it's a coin that's really shown its durability and surviving for all these years with all that it's been under. Definitely one of my favorite coins, and certainly one of the biggest coins that got me into the industry, so I definitely love them personally. But hey, I hope you found this video entertaining, helpful. If you're still here, I really appreciate you sticking around till the end, and until the next one, thanks.